Hey Dr. Webb, this is Reflect and Connect number something, and it is on the, Stringham 2016 article, and the name is very familiar because he is our new Dean of Music. I just want to start by saying I really enjoyed reading this article. Every now and then reading articles and textbooks and stuff, at least for me, there are some that capture my attention, and then there are others that I kind of feel lose me a little bit. And I felt that this article was written in a very human and conversational way that made it enjoyable to read. And really, to start off, just to kind of dive in, Stringham talks about incorporating composition and, in a way, creativity into the classroom in a creative and community type way. Not forcing kids to compose and obeying by the rules of music theory and all that sort of thing, but more of how do we break away from performance-based classroom and maybe incorporate creativity and composition a little bit more. Stringham starts by talking about music teachers excel at creating community. Often it's based off of performance. Maybe we should try and incorporate composition. But a lot of teachers may struggle in teaching composition as someone who hasn't had that sort of background. So this article kind of gives some strategies to us as the educator who may not be comfortable in composition, giving some ideas on how to incorporate it in a way that is non-stressful. Expanding teachers' roles, trying to, if you're the only music teacher in your district, you have a lot of roles to cover. You need to be able to develop a lot of skills to cover all sorts of things. Even if you are just an expert, you might have to fill lots of roles, including teaching composition. Performance, repertoire, and composition. To start, having students understand what goes into picking a piece. This is kind of what we've talked about in programming, but, instead of just, oh, it's Justin Bieber, why would we learn this Justin Bieber piece? What makes this piece up that makes it worth learning? Study repertoire, and then dig in. Stringham says, for example, why does it matter that the opening theme comes back? How does the composer create variety of colors? Sort of things. And he goes on to say, find ways for your students to engage with composers of the pieces that they're studying. Get the kids involved in understanding what the composer does with the music to try and get them to understand, Students are also encouraged when they see their teachers learning with them. If that's you and you're learning a piece at the same time as them, it's gonna make the students feel like they're a part of something with you, like you are human too. You're not just the big teacher. Next category, divergent thought, convergent goals is the title. Use divergent thought processes to reinforce convergent goals. Compose music inspired by an attribute of repertoire you are studying. So, if the piece you are doing, for example, everyone create a melody that modulates from minor key to major key, just like the piece we're doing in the folder. I can't think of any that we're doing off the top of my head in methods that do this, but for example, the piece that Maya did in 5/4, everybody create a piece with a melody in 5/4, and you let them go and do something. It's not that hard to grasp, you just give them one topic and then they do the rest. Or String goes on to say, relate more to a feeling. Quote, what would you compose to portray the happiness, sadness, lightheartedness, chaos of blank? So, maybe you have a really hard passage, like the Kyrie. what would you guys compose to show off how chaotic the Kyrie is? Something of that. Student participation. Encourage students to participate in developing and assessing compositional somethings. Getting students to participate in a number of different projects, varying length, parameters, context. He relates it to a menu with different portion sizes that accommodate different needs. Do that with composition. Some people are going to be stronger, more adventurous, have some harder things, some more complex, some simpler, dialed down things. Goes on to give a quote from Michelle Kashub. In many cases, the most valuable feedback that teachers can provide occurs in the form of the question. This reminds me a lot of lessons with Kieran. Sometimes, instead of giving you the answer, he guides you to the answer. I think this is that same context where you don't give the student the answer, but you ask them what they think and maybe try to guide them in the right way. I know I just said that, but to help students improve their skills in giving feedback, consider providing guidelines to ensure students are providing feedback on attributes, sharing things they like as well as they do not, and providing feedback appropriately. Let's see, goes on. Provide public venues, another good thing. I think having a spot for the students to provide their composition publicly and get maybe non-music or other peers involved, maybe people that aren't in orchestra, have the choir listen to some composed pieces. Also, getting used to the community, performing chamber works in the lobby before a concert or between groups in the concert hall, and also doing music festivals, submitting works. Not sure what there is for high schools around here, but I think there's NISMA related things for that, for composers. And goes on to talk about more opportunities for starting composition. And then finally, start somewhere, but start. Just getting your foot in the door and getting your students used to it, getting them experimenting, and, there's a lot of different windows. It doesn't have to be one set thing, but I like that the article presents it in a way that, as someone who doesn't compose, it feels human and relatable and like a very conversation. Like, here's a couple ideas, doesn't have to be set, but even Stringham said in the article, it's a way to provide ideas for you as a music educator. Just to end with the quote, creating a compositional community within your classroom offers students opportunities to engage with the human impulse to create by participating in one of the most complex dimensions, musical thought, we can offer our students. You can do that in lots of different ways. Improvisation, creative with assignments, stuff that we've done in class, improvisation simply, maybe over a jazz tune, lots of different things. But getting students to be creative and have fun is just getting your foot in the door, and then you can take it anywhere. Thank you. That is all.